What is up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the engagingly eccentric Dr. Disaster, and everyone remembers the game Avowed, right? It came out earlier this year and flopped like a fish, selling just a bit over 300,000 copies on Steam after almost 9 months on the market.
Do people not like me?
And if you don't recall, one of the primary reasons that a bunch of people were celebrating this failure is the fact that the developer, Obsidian, went out of their way to wade into the deep end of the culture war. People pointed out that this game had a pronoun system in the character design catering to the they-them crowd, which takes a lot of gamers out of any immersion and drags them back to modern day. And when people criticized this, Obsidian developers made a point of telling everyone what they really think of people who disagree with their California bullshit.
I hate you!
Well, now the studio has another game being released, Outer Worlds 2, and it looks like it is going to similarly flop like Avowed. The game does not officially release until tomorrow, but if you bought the expensive version of the game, you get early access to it. Of course, the fact that this even exists, this premium edition of the game, is hilarious, coming from a title whose sole purpose seems to be to criticize the evils of capitalism. But these days, Outer Worlds 2 is looking at absolute hypocrisy in the rearview mirror because a few months ago, they were the first Xbox game that was going to be $80.
You always were a loser.
Anyhow, as I was saying, the game is on pace to flop, and in fact, it is actually trailing Avowed. If you look at the Steam charts for Avowed, over there, where the red arrow is pointing, you can see that I have highlighted the peak concurrent player count of that game during its early access period. They hit a bit over 13,000 concurrent players before going on to barely top 19,000 after it was fully released. Meanwhile, here is the Steam chart for Outer Worlds 2 during its early access period. They topped out at not even quite 11,000. The game is doing even worse than Avowed, which does not bode well for its prospects in the future.
Bitch, you don't have a future.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel, so make sure you check on that, and also, give me a follow over on X where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. And if you feel like supporting the channel and helping keep the lights on, consider becoming a member for as little as $5 per month. But anyhow, let's take a peek at some more shit that's going on with Outer Worlds 2. You see, if you did purchase this premium edition of the game for $100, the developers of the game actually present you with a negative perk in the actual game itself that gives you a 15% vendor discount but 10% less sell value. Obsidian thought it was cute to make fun of anyone who spent that kind of money on their game. And while I agree that people who pay for premium editions on games, especially this game, they need to have their heads examined, but this is no way to treat a customer. Just look here at the text of the actual perk itself. It says, "The Earth Directorate found a flaw in you, consumerism. You are the reason our marketing works, promotions and sales have riddled your brain, and you're more interested in buying the next big thing than financial planning. And I'd like to make a couple of notes about this blurb from Obsidian. First of all, they are claiming that their marketing works, and I'd like to point out that they lost money, categorically, on Avowed, and at this pace with Outer Worlds 2, they are almost certain to do even worse. They usually don't have very high development costs on this studio, and with marketing and everything, they likely spent only a little over $100 million on this game, Outer Worlds 2, the same as they did with Avowed, but Avowed has still come nowhere near that number. Between Xbox and Steam, they have estimated to have sold less than 500,000 copies, and they would need to sell around 2 million to break even. So, claiming that their marketing works is simply asinine. And also, in this little perk here, they refer to their own game as the next big thing. And I mean, come on, my dudes. You limped across 10,000 concurrent players on Steam during early access, and you will likely struggle to hit 20,000 when the full release happens. That is not the next big thing. But you want to know what this arrogant attitude of theirs reminds me of? It reminds me of the makers of the old TV show Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which was my favorite thing to watch back when I was in college. Let me explain. Back in those days, there were no streaming services, so if I wanted to watch Aqua Teen, I had to watch the show on my DVDs. I'd buy the newest season on DVD, and I'd hit play all on the episodes because I loved having the show as background noise while I studied. It was my comfort food. But when the 4th season came out, the makers of the show thought they'd be smartasses. On the DVD for that season, when you hit play all, it played all the episodes simultaneously in little mini screens all across the screen. And I had a chuckle about that at first. I thought it was a funny joke, but when I scoured the menu of that disc, I found that there was no actual legitimate play all function on the season, so I was stuck having to hit play after every individual episode, which broke up my concentration while studying, and ultimately I was annoyed and I never bought another season of that show again. This shit with Outer Worlds 2 strikes me as the same sort of thing. A bunch of smartasses disrespecting their own customers. Sure, the game gives the option on whether or not to accept the perk, but the insult is there whether you accept it or not. There has been some mild outrage about this online thus far, and I would like to think that this would have the effect of snapping people out of their trance and prevent them from buying premium editions from studios like this any longer. Clearly, these studios do not respect any of you for doing it. They look at you as a mark, as a sucker. I always advise people not to pre-order a game no matter what it is, and that goes doubly for premium versions. But anyhow, the review embargo for Outer Worlds 2 has lifted as well, and we have a score for the game over on Metacritic. So far, the critics have hit it with an 83 out of 100, which tells us they think it's better than Avowed. That game was given an 80 out of 100. But let's look at a few of the positive and a few of the negative reviews for Outer Worlds 2. GameLiner gives Outer Worlds its highest score at 90 of 100, and they wrote, "The Outer Worlds 2 expands on everything that made the original great: sharp writing, satisfying combat, and real player choice. Despite a clunky UI and some rough edges, this witty space RPG delivers a rich, reactive world that's truly yours to shape." I don't know, dudes, a clunky UI and rough edges doesn't sound like a nearly flawless game that you would score a 90, but I'm not a paid shill, so what do I know? Anyhow, but Why Though also gave this a 90 of 100 and said The Outer Worlds 2 comes together to deliver a fantastic journey. Despite some narrative hiccups, the worlds, organizations, and individuals players encounter and sometimes kill are always engaging and frequently fun. once again, some narrative hiccups, and you give it a 90 of 100. I guess we just score games differently than one another. But over on the negative side of things, Slant Magazine scored this game a 40 of 100 and wrote, "There are scattered elements that veer the story away from having to bootlick for progress, but they're few and far between." And I'm not sure exactly what that criticism is talking about, but it sure sounds an awful lot like someone who wants the game to go even harder against the evil capitalism. They apparently weren't progressive enough for these guys. But then Eurogamer Portugal gave the game its second worst score, a 60 of 100, and they write here, "The Outer Worlds 2 tries to be a great space RPG, but falls by the wayside. It has good ideas, lots of freedom and fun moments, but the story is confusing and the world feels empty. It's a game full of potential, but which never really lives up to it. An RPG that wanted to be a shooter, or maybe the other way around." And it always seems to me like the most honest reviews are the ones near the bottom. It sure seems like the people at the top of the pile are always excusing faults and buttering studios up, but the lower scores often end up seeming much more realistic. But in any event, it's up to you, of course, as to whether or not you play this turd sandwich. However, I heartily recommend against it, and it seems like most people agree. Anyhow, I'm going to leave it there. Drop your mockery of Obsidian and Outer Worlds 2 into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.